Hello. Hello. Okay, thank you. The discussion that we're going to be having now is around PR for social good, about crisis communications and public relations and higher social purpose for the public. So nothing's too weighty to start the day with, just a bit of a discussion about stuff. And I'm really pleased to be joined by 6 panelists who come from different parts of the PR and communications landscape. So, the topic being PR for social good, and I asked a few people, about this, and I'll just quickly tell you what my wife said in response to this. She said, "PR for social good, ha! That's a load of rubbish. PR and social good. Well, they don't work, do they?" So I thought, okay, that's something to discuss, really. I've asked all 6 just to kind of have a think about the broad title today, just to kick things off and start the ball rolling. So rather than me introduce you all, could you just say quickly who you are and where you're from, and a really quick 30-second summary of what you think the title of all this means to you, what strikes you. I'm looking at you, Caroline Mitchell, first.
It's on. Okay, so I'm Caroline Mitchell. I'm from South Lanarkshire Council, and I am a new digital team leader. I don't do PR. I think I do comms. But I kind of specialise on using social media in emergencies, and that's obviously for the social good.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Louise MacDonald, Chief Executive at Young Scot. And in a desperate attempt to ingratiate myself, I'll let you know that I began my career in journalism, then I moved into communications and PR, and then I made the jump to Chief Exec, but I'm still a member of CIPR, okay, so I still do my 60 hours every year, just going to keep myself going. So in terms of this title, I suppose I had a few kind of thoughts. I'm not really sure that PR in and of itself is either good or bad. It just kind of is. It's all about kind of context. It's all about how we use it. It's how we use the tools, the approach, the principles, the ethics, and so on. For me, what I think about when I'm thinking about PR and how we use it is how does it help us as an organisation meet our purpose? And our purpose is to support young people. That's what we kind of care about. So when I'm thinking about issues like the fact that 1 in 4 children and young people in Scotland are living in poverty, that young people from poorer areas are 4 times less likely to continue their education, that we have, out of 42 countries, the lowest levels of confidence for 15-year-old girls. Only 4% of 15-year-old girls in Scotland say they feel confident at any point. PR the heck out of that, people. That's my thought.
So I work with charities mainly in digital. I'm particularly interested today, I guess, to get a feeling for where people think charities are at the moment. There's a lot of big stories in the media around public perception of charities. Arguably, a lot of the research that SCVO's done has shown that Scotland's probably not as demonic as England and Wales when it comes to public perception, but there's still a big slippery slope where people don't really believe charities are spending money in the right places. So I'd be interested to know what people think about that.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ross.
Is mine on as well? Yes.
I'm
Anne Rowe from SCVO. It's a Scottish Council for Voluntary Organisations. We're the umbrella body for charities, voluntary organisations, community groups, all sorts of shapes and sizes of organisations in Scotland. So from the sort of Young Scot, really well known, right down to your local kids club that runs through the summer. All sorts of things. Like Ross says, quite a big perception at the moment that while people are very engaged with charities, that perhaps the media are giving them a bit of a hard time. Daily Mail, Daily Mail, Daily Mail. But as Ross also said, SCVO did some research that we put out in February that showed that in Scotland, about 82% of people still have trust and confidence in charities. So really, within a charity, you're acting in a very good place. You've got a lot of buy-in from the public. It's actually about what is it you want to tell them. My interest today is I used to call myself a PR person. I don't really know what I am now. I do comms, but I do...
Why are we all here?
Yeah, no, it's a kind of philosophical thing. Everything that I've learned along the road in my career has brought me to where I am now. And I think the principles that I learned under the name of PR are still what my job is all about. So sometimes I'll go to meetings with different... My title is Communications and Marketing. I'll go to meetings and it's got completely different purposes, but really the principles are exactly the same. And I think that's the important thing that's kind of binding us. But I think unpicking some of what the extra bells and whistles are from when I began. So when I began, it was on the phone, little lowly me talking to a journalist, trying desperately to sell in a story. It's a very different world now. You know, that relationship with journalists is very different. The starting point of a story that ends up either in the media or on social media is very different. It may not be you, but you ride on the back of it. There are lots of different things we're dealing with today, and I think it's brilliant that we've got people on the panel who don't identify as being in PR in any way, because that's where we need to be looking to find the answers.
Brilliant, thank you.
That's far too philosophical for me. I'm Claire Smith. I'm Chief Marketing Officer at the Scottish Government. PR for social good, bringing it back to that. I would argue that pretty much everything we do in the Scottish Government's marketing team is about social good. It's about social marketing, it's about behaviour change, it's about improving lives, it's about informing the public to help them live healthier, safer, greener, whatever, better lives. It's about growing the economy, which ultimately is, I suppose, for social good. So without sounding super right on, I would say PR is pretty damn good at being good for social good.
Ian at Whitespace, obviously. I guess we have an interesting kind of role. We collaborate a lot with PR professionals, and most of our clients have an incumbent PR team that we need to work with. So our role, as it has been with some of the other members of the panel, is there to work very much with them on the concept and the idea, and then how we can help to communicate that across all channels in a consistent kind of way. So the kind of subject here, PR for social good. So we have very commercial clients, retail. We also have charitable clients, so Mary's Meals, Macmillan Scotland. I think, for me, if social good is about how we help others, then actually I think the role of the organisation is to ensure that their brand and their values are actually genuine and that that's communicated in the right way. So PR is perhaps the conduit. I think there's possibly a dichotomy there, because I think personally all PR has some kind of form of political or commercial objective. So for me it comes right back to the organisation, the values and the brands that they have.
So it's a good spread of people then. Private sector, voluntary sector, government, local government with some background in journalism. I'll be sort of asking just a couple of questions just to prod them a little bit. But I'll be really keen to sort of see what you think too. So that there will be opportunities for you to stick your hand up and we'll get a microphone to you to ask a question, because I think that's where the interesting stuff's really going to be. I suppose my first question, just coming back to what my wife said about PR and social good and laughing like a drain and all that kind of stuff. Is what you do PR, or is it something else? Are you keen to rush to the defence of PR as a thing, or has it actually moved on to be something else? Yes.
So I think it's always been about telling stories, and how we tell that story, through what channel or language, has changed and evolved, ultimately.
Yeah.
Telling stories, why? Well, reputation management, improving the bottom line. I think to nail PR specifically to the wall for one thing is now, has always been impossible, I think. It's such an evolving thing. It goes when it's needed, I suppose.
Yeah. Is it better to actually ditch the title altogether, or is it still got some value? Caroline?
I think it could possibly do with some PR itself. I think when you've got the likes of Malcolm Tucker and AbFab to contend with, I think it's time for an overhaul. And I don't think it'll ever change public perception of PR.
Yeah.
And without a decent PR campaign behind it.
Yeah. Any more thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think the wider public are actually aware of what PR really is. I think it does have this persona, like you say. I don't think it really reflects the hard work and the variety of skills that are actually out there. But I do think that, as I say, the lines are blurred between different disciplines. I don't think there's such a thing as a mobile or a digital agency, for example. I think it's actually really difficult to describe what we do, kind of bundle it under the creative banner. You know, is PR bundled under a communications banner? I don't know. I think you're kind of defined by the results of the work and the output that you're actually doing.
We've had a few, not really, really bad things, but mainly more brand reputational things, because we have...
Oh, bad things are good.
Yeah. Some of them talk about so they can. But so we've got 3 community managers who manage the social profiles online for a few of our clients. And I think what I've found in that kind of area is that the response that needs to be given to individuals when they react in a crisis situation in a social environment cannot be that stock phrase that comes from an internal PR department. There's one that we'll just call Squirrelgate, which had a very core set of people who were very passionate about the red squirrel, going online, reacting to a TV ad that we didn't even produce, but being quite vocal online, and the PR response that we got was just not going to cut it with this audience. So there really needs to be a real collaboration between how that message is going to go out in terms of social, and remembering that the tone of voice that you use and how you actually speak to people, not through one just kind of response or press release.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm actually speaking later. I'm doing the Future Proof session at about 11:30. And actually I've been picking up some of the themes. I thought this morning's panel has been really useful, really interesting actually. What I would say is, and I'm going to pick this up like I say in the presentation, in Future Proof, Professor Van Gregory wrote about the purpose of PR, about helping organisations find their purpose in society. And I think she's absolutely right, and hopefully all of us within this room actually do that a little bit. We get very focused in PR about the tactical elements and what it is we do, and actually that's not really what we should be thinking about. We should be thinking about it as a strategic management function, which is actually how do we best help the organisations we work with, which comes back down what are they there to do, which are the publics they're serving, and in what way. Now, before, businesses kind of got very caught up with profits, and because of the way that the balance of power has changed, they're having to really think about what they're doing, and that's where PR can really help. And I think that's where we work to help, as PR in achieving social good. And I think where PR works extremely well in that is that it's a two-way dialogue. We know how to engage. So who defines it? Well, PR people do on behalf of the organisation with their publics. It should be, if we do it properly, done together.
I'm quite interested to find out from the panel how you find when you're a senior person in industry, and say you were my client, for example, and I'm saying to you, we should do this in relation to this really awkward crisis situation that's happened, out of all of our control, and you're saying, no, that's the wrong thing, you want to hide away. And I'm going, well, we need to say, we're sorry, we need to say, this is what's happened, we need to be really honest, and that is a difficulty I have to convince the client we need to be a bit nicer. So, what would be, obviously none of you guys would have that opinion because you would say to do the right thing, but if you're thinking in your experience, you've all been there, how have you managed to get someone to change their mind?
Would you like to go first on that?
I was just going to say, I completely identify with that through my entire working life. It's so frustrating, and can happen in a whole different variety of areas, but when you feel really, really passionately about it, it can be a real stumbling block. I find working in-house that it's not quite as bad as it was when I was in agency, because you're that further step removed in agency. But what I would say, and what I always say to my team as well, it's an awful thing to admit, but PR and communications to a great extent is still the tail of the dog. And unless you work really hard at getting your function, just like you were saying before, into the dog, so into the strategic, operational part of your organisation, whether you're the agency or whether you're in-house, you'll always just be the tail. And your influence will be smaller, and you will always be kind of batted away and say, no, but this is best for the organisation, and you're just the route to tell that story to the outside world. But my own personal view is I walk away from things where they're doing it wrong.
Because I suppose a version of that might be someone saying, do you know what, Ross, what we need is Twitter. That's all we need. Just set me up on Twitter. I'll tweet once a week. In fact, you tweet for me, and then job's a good one. How do you kind of cross that bridge from a digital point of view?
I mean, just echoing what's been said already, trying to match it into channels. Where's your audience? Who are you looking to connect with?
Yeah.
There's still too much in the third and public sector, and I think assuming people need to come to us. So we spend 5 years building up some clunky Facebook page and we go, oh, we've got 2,000 likes and maybe 200 people see something we put out. Did any of them do anything with it? Did we bring about societal change?
Yeah.
And actually, where are the places that those local people and people with thematic issues like the parents of that child with autism, where are they going, where are they communicating, how do we get into those spaces? That's what I find interesting. Not how do we get them to come to us and then we can go and shout at them for ages.
Yeah, yeah. Laura?
I think that a lot of the time in my experience of working with clients, some in-house teams and some maybe slightly inexperienced PR consultants or practitioners, sometimes they focus far too much on the output. And that kind of comes back to what you're saying about, oh wow, we've got X amount of likes or we've done X amount of tweets. And to me, I keep going back and saying, you know, that doesn't, what is the impact of that? And that will come out hopefully in the measurement and evaluation workshop we're doing tomorrow. But there's so much more to impact and to what's happening in people's lives, whether it's a change in behaviour or if it's an attitude change or a shift in reputation or perceptions. And I think that's often where PR people, and still I'm hearing this at events actually when people are asking questions, oh, but the client says that it works, or that, oh, but we just know. And you kind of like, well, where is that? Particularly when you have to answer to the public. If it's the public purse that is being invested, there's so much more that has to go into the thought and the approach and I suppose what actually is the outcome of the whole entire thing at the end of the day as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Caroline? Then...
Yeah, I've got a good example of that. We used to measure how many press releases we sent out.
Get in.
Long live the press release. We've stopped that now, thank goodness. We just started an adoption campaign quite recently, and I suggested doing a Twitter Q&A with an adopter and a social worker. It wasn't busy. For 2 hours we opened up the floor to questions, and we weren't knocked over in the rush. But as a result of those 2 hours, we've now got 2 people straight into the system the following morning, and we'll be monitoring that to see if they have actually gone ahead and adopted a child 6 months down the line, because that is a saving.
Yeah.
It's obviously changed someone's life, it's changed an entire family's life, and that's what we're measuring. We're not measuring how many tweets we answered, we're not measuring even how many times it was shared.
Yeah.
We're measuring actual real hard facts and how it's affected people's lives. And that's difficult as well, because it's not something you can measure easily and it's not something you can measure quickly. But it's other people's outcomes, it's not our outcomes, it's other departments' outcomes.
And it's a challenge for us as well. When we talk about conversions all the time, it's all about conversions. Everything that we do, it's that end point, whether somebody actually downloaded that piece of information, watched that film, bought that loan, that's the conversion. That's the thing that actually measures, and there's a value that can be put on that. So we try and drive all of our work to be thinking about that conversion rather than, well, we've had clients before, again, Chatham House rules, who have been, their bonus is dependent on how many emails they send out in a year. I mean, that's crazy, especially when you've got a drop-off rate in terms of people actually signing up or unsubscribe rate. So, how we measure things, I think, is the first question that we ask, and gets back to that trust thing. Because if you can't get something that you can measure and demonstrate that you're doing something good, how are you going to actually convince them that what you're doing is great?
John Gill from the Social Services Council in Scotland. I was just thinking the question with regards to who determines social good. And I agree with the panel that, it comes from politicians and policies and from brands and so on. But I think I'm probably agreeing with the lady here that we've got at the end of the day, even I would say even beyond clients, it's about getting back to the audience and getting their opinion of what social good is. I'm thinking of an example like Social Media Santa. I think Ross, I don't know if you set that up or had a lot to do with it. But in terms of measurement, it measures itself because you put something out there like that, and if you don't know, it was just about, sharing on Twitter, or, anywhere on social media, that you could go on to Amazon and buy a present and have it sent to Shelter just before Christmas, and so then Shelter have a whole load of toys and whatnot to distribute. So you measure that by the mountains of well, maybe not even enough, but a significant number of toys and whatnot that they then photographed and shared back out. So you see the impact, and you know, it's easily measured. And so, and probably digital's not even the best way of doing that. It's like a way of testing it. So you can, you know, there's no replacement of face-to-face, but at least by, you know, having digital, we've got the opportunity to try stuff out like that, and then have the confidence then to do it in a bigger way, in a more direct, you know, out in communities. And then maybe that helps with the PR perception as well, because once we're that connected like that, it's only going to do good for the perceptions of PR.
And it's again having the organisation working as a network itself. So at Walsall Council, Morgan Bowers is the Countryside Ranger. Early adopter of social media, on Twitter, loads of followers, takes pictures of bees, just shares everything that she comes across in her daily job. Then there was a planning application went in for one of the areas that she covers. She knew, the planners knew that it wasn't going to come to fruition, but nobody trusted the planners. Nobody trusted anything they were putting out in social media until Morgan started saying on her Twitter stream, this isn't going to happen, it can't happen, it's not in the local plan, or whatever your version of the local plan was. Yeah. And it was Morgan that turned around public opinion, not the planners. So it's working as a network. Within a network.
But the other bit I'd kind of say and add into that in terms of the digital, and back to reputation and back to social good and connecting to your kind of audience, the bit for me in social media is how it allows open access to the people you serve, to you as an organisation or personally to me. So any young person, there is no desk between me and a young person, there's no office, nothing. Any young person can contact me at any point, or the organisation. So that kind of direct line, and they do, believe me, because they all hate their young Scot card photograph in S1. There will come a time when they'll be happy to look, 5 years younger than their photograph, but it's not when you're 12. But that kind of plays into then the bit about being able to have that connection, hear what they're saying, have an open channel and understand young people as well, and really allow them to kind of connect with you. So the benefits of that in terms of social media, absolutely, you have to be careful how you count it and whatever. But for me personally, it's about authenticity, it's about engagement, and about being accountable to the young people that I serve.
Just to say my thanks to Caroline, Louise, Anne, Claire, Ross, Ian. Thank you very much. I suppose one conclusion being everyone does or can do PR for social good. Just remembering human beings, I think, is a good lesson to learn. So thanks all very much indeed, and thanks for your questions as well. Thank you.